The whole game, besides getting the other person to think about you when you're not there, is to get them emotional about you. Even if they dislike you, that's okay, because that can be overcome. Getting them to be suspicious, angry, that gives you room to turn around to seduce them. That emotion in your presence can now be turned into something else. When somebody says something malicious, they're not really aiming it at you. They're having problems from their own past. It really isn't personal about you. It's about them and their problems. The way to see through that tactic is this attempted friendship genuine or not? But that opens up the whole thing about being much more sensitive to the nonverbal cues that you pick up from a person. Because what often happens with women is that they sense something is wrong with the man from the first time they meet him, but then they drop the suspicion very quickly. They think, oh, he's not so bad, or I had it all wrong. But actually that first instinct was very right. So you have to trust your instincts, and you have to trust this person that is trying to become your friend. They're giving off signs that there's something kind of cold about it. It doesn't feel genuine, right? It feels like a tactic. One thing that a man will do if he's using this kind of tactic is he's in a bit of a hurry, right? So his effort to be a friend is kind of rushed. He really likes you, right? But he's texting you, he's talking about you, asking you questions and all these other things. But it seems kind of rushed. In a period of like a week or so, he's suddenly your friend now. That is a sure sign that something else is going on. Because if you genuinely want to be a friend of someone, you're willing to take your time. The calculating seducer is probably after sex fairly quickly, right? Or an abusive relationship. So they're not willing to take their time in that area. But also, as I said, people who are narcissists, you can kind of pick up the signs in them. They don't seem genuinely interested. There's a kind of coldness in their eyes. I say the classic nonverbal cue of a narcissist is there's a disconnect between their eyes and their mouth. So they smile, but the eyes are dead. Their eyes are not. When someone's genuinely interested, the whole face lights up. You can't fake that. But what you can fake is a kind of a smile, but the eyes reveal. So there are signs that the narcissist isn't really emotionally involved. But the problem with a lot of women in this situation is they're not attentive. They're thinking about themselves. They're projecting onto the man images from their childhood, their father figures, previous men who've hurt them. They're not in the moment. They're not reading the fine-grained nonverbal cues that the other person is getting. They're thinking about their problems, their history, their fantasies. But you have to focus, you have to be in the moment. You have to look at them and see if that interest that they're showing to be your friend is actually genuine or not. And the face will often reveal that. Before the internet, when people were more social, and women were a little bit warier than they are now about men, right? Because becoming pregnant outside of marriage was a huge deal. They had that instinct that was very, very strong. A woman could pick up the signals of a cold seducer pretty quickly, but that skill has been degraded in the modern era, right? When you're spending so much of your time on your phone and you're judging people, you're losing the sense of how to look at somebody in the moment. And it's not just this thing I told you about the eyes. Some of it I can't even communicate in words. It's that gut feeling that something isn't right about this person. Something is disconnected. I can't say exactly what it is, but it's giving me a feeling that he is not who he pretends to be. There's a fine line between that and paranoia, where you're doing that to every man. Because if you become like that, then you can never have a good relationship. You can never let down your guard. So that you can go too far with that. But you should have, in the initial stages of a relationship, a woman should have a little bit of suspicion, a little bit of wariness. That has to come down. He has to earn your trust. It can't just be this instant thing that happened. The person is a puzzle. And the problem today, and people are so obvious, they're so goddamn obvious. They're on the internet, they're saying, here's what I have for breakfast, here's what I love. You know, I'm just opening myself up and this is who I am, right? But seduction involves a little bit of mystery, a little bit of fantasy. It's not like everyday life. It's not like things on Instagram. It's something different. It's theater. That's what's exciting about it. If you're the male seducer, he will be someone who seems very trustworthy, very honest, very solid. But then he reveals something a little bit rock and roll, a little bit rebellious, a little bit like he takes something else about him that doesn't quite click. Wow, I didn't know who this guy is. Maybe he's more interesting than I thought. Maybe he's not so buttoned up and so controlled as I thought. There's another aspect to him. The element of surprise that you don't know who someone is what fascinates us about a movie. When you create a character and suddenly on screen they reveal a trait that seems out of character, wow, that's exciting. That's what makes you, that's how movies work, right? It's the same thing in real life. You create a sense of, you don't know who I am, but it has to be subtle. It's not like you're not Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You're not half evil and half button-down banker. You're 95% banker and you're 2 or 3 or 4% of this other thing. It's a little peak of something else that intrigues, that creates a fantasy element. Now, how a woman could sense that that is a tactic, it comes back down to that nonverbal element. Or the other thing is analyze what it is that's intriguing you, what it is that's making you think about the person. From the woman's point of view, the ability to stand back and analyze the situation instead of getting immediately rushing in emotionally, where you tell the woman something negative about them. That creates a kind of a wound in them that gives you now room to now your next step is sort of kind and interested in them, but they're feeling like they want to kind of satisfy what you were criticizing. So creating a wound, creating a need for you, is what a classic seducer will do. You're pinpointing a vulnerability that they have, something that's missing in their life, and you're going to be the one that provides it. So if you actually create the need in them, and then you're the one to satisfy it, it's a very, very potent seduction technique. Now, the thing that happened with the game and the pickup artist scene in Los Angeles is that so many men were using these tactics, were using that negging tactic. The moment a woman heard that, she knew this guy's a pickup artist and they weren't interested in it. So it stopped working after a while. But if you see a man doing that, if he's like kind of criticizing you in a subtle way, but then it's covered up by other things going on, maybe feel like that was a tactic, that wasn't genuine, that he was doing that to kind of make me feel insecure, because an insecure person is more vulnerable to being seduced than a totally secure person. Power is a feeling, it's an essence, it's an emotion. It's a human need and desire. And really, what power is a sense of understanding yourself and being able to control yourself. So the way I look at it, I like to look at it not through the lens of great power politics, but as an average, everyday human being here in the United States or in England. The feeling that you have with your children, with your spouse, with your colleagues, the people who work for you, the sense that you have no control, that you can't influence them with your ideas, that you can't get them to maybe, soften some of their ugly behavior if they have that you can't get them interested in helping you with a project or whatever, is the most miserable feeling a human being can have. Malcolm X had a quote that I love, which is, "Absolute power corrupts, but absolute powerless corrupts even more." I'm butchering it, but that was the gist of it. The feeling of powerlessness is actually more corrupting than the feeling of having a lot of power. It turns people into being passive aggressive, into playing all kinds of weird games, negative games to get power. You want to feel that you have a degree of control over events in your life, over people, over your future. And that to me is what power is, right? Some of that involves these games that I mentioned in there, and some of it goes beyond the 48 laws of power, which I've tried to indicate in my other books. You don't have to use the laws of power. I don't advocate crushing your enemy totally. I hope I don't have any enemies ever that I need to crush ever. You just need to know these things so that when you enter the work world, you're not naive, you're not stupid, you don't make the same kind of mistakes that I made. You spare yourself the pain. You understand the most fundamental thing about human nature. People have egos. Even your boss has an ego. You think he or she doesn't because they're powerful. They're even more insecure than other people. You need to be aware of these things so that you don't inadvertently make them feel insecure and suffer the consequences. If you can't control yourself, then you're in a lot of trouble in this world. If you can't control yourself, how can you control anything in your environment? How can you be a leader, right? You have to learn certain things about your nature, about who you are, and not just be anybody. You have to kind of tailor your appearances as well, because for good or for bad, I'm a believer in looking at the human animal without shame and embarrassment, just as we are, right? And appearances matter. It's the animal part of our nature. We judge people by how they appear, how they dress, their tone of voice, their body language. It would be, in an ideal world, we wouldn't judge people by appearances. We would just judge them by what's inside of them. Yes, I agree with that. But that we're not ideal. We're not descended from angels, we're descended from primates. You have to understand that appearances matter, and this is part of the game. And so you have to control your appearances a little bit. You have to tailor it. You have to be a bit of actor in this world. When you need to get results, you need to think, when you have a job or something, you have to think in practical terms, not in terms of emotions, not in terms of friendship, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to keep your work world separate. It's not everything about life is having to be friends and having nice things and everybody like you. Sometimes what matters is getting results done. And sometimes the best person to work with isn't your friend because they don't have all this other stuff that we're talking about. In fact, a very powerful move is if there's an enemy out there, somebody who you never got along with, if you approach them and say, let's bury the hatchet, I have a job and I'd really like you to work with me. I know you're really smart. The turnaround of emotions is a very powerful thing where they're going, wow, yeah, sure, that's great. I never expected that. And they're highly motivated to now prove that they're worthy of your change of mind. So it's not about not trusting your friends in the realm of friendship in personal relationships. It's about being aware that the work world is different from the realm of personal relationships. We all have this idea, like in the Laws of Human Nature, I write about irrationality, envy, aggression, or narcissism. Oh, they're a narcissist. I'm not a narcissist. I'm not self-absorbed, but they are. Yeah. I don't have any of those traits. Well, damn it. Every single human being has self-absorption traits. We can't help it. We naturally think of ourselves first. Yes, there are people who are much deeper narcissists in life, no doubt, and there are toxic narcissists, but we all have a touch of it. I want you to be a little more humble in this world and not be so arrogant and not think that you are somehow exempt from having a dark side, that somehow you were born with a halo over your head, that you were born different, you don't have human nature, that you're a saintly person, you're much better. Get rid of your moral superiority, because I find that deeply offensive. We are all cut from the same cloth. We all have the same flaws. And when you look at yourself, and when I wrote the Laws of Human Nature, I'm going, damn it, Robert, you have a dark side. You're a narcissist. I had to come to terms with my irrationality, my grandiosity, my aggressive instincts. But it's the only way to change yourself is to be aware that you have these issues. I have the narcissistic tendencies. Now I see it. All right. Now when they pop up, I can control it better. I can say, damn, Robert, you're being too self-absorbed to think more about the other person. But if you go around in life thinking, I don't have any of these problems, I'm not a narcissist, you're never going to have the awareness to stop the fact that you are actually one. But what happens is as you get older, if you go too deep into it, it becomes a problem. And so what I say is you need to take that self-love and that has a good function and turn it outward as much you can and turn it into empathy and love and consideration for other people more. That's your task as you get older in life. That's how I approach all of these flaws. You can't run away from them. You can't run away from your shadow, your dark side. You can make it work for you. You can make it positive and productive and healthy. You can become a healthy narcissist.